Hey friends, welcome to day 9 of our month-long beginner yoga series. As always, if you like this channel, if you like any of these videos, please do the YouTube things like, comment, subscribe, share, and then I have my Venmo link listed below. If you'd be so kind as to donate, that would be amazing and greatly appreciated. Okay, today is we're kind of starting the lower body week of our full month-long series, and today is our asana, which means pose and alignment class. So we're gonna go through some basic poses that you'll see in a ton of classes, a ton of my classes that are mostly lower body focused, just as a way to separate them. But knowing that yoga is a whole body experience in and of itself. So let's get started in a squat. This is called Hanumanasana pose or Garland pose, Yogi squat. If you need help, if you are a little bit tight in your hips, I would suggest having a block or a pillow or a bolster, and you put it underneath your sit bones. And then you bring your hips back between your knees. Toes are pointed out slightly at an angle, and heels are pointed in slightly at an angle. Hip width distance apart or a little bit wider. Everyone's hip anatomy is different, so find what's comfortable for you. And just breathe here, relax your shoulders from your ears. Place your hands somewhere along your body or your forearms on your body. If this feels okay, if you'd like to go a little deeper, you can change the setting on your block. So maybe you started at this super tall setting, or maybe you even start in a chair. I almost fell. But eventually you can start lowering down. And if you want to make it a little bit more active, we take out the prop altogether. Take a few breaths here, see how that feels. If you're in this option without the prop, you can bring your hands to heart center like a prayer position. Push your elbows out into your knees and your knees back into your elbows. Chest reaches tall and proud. Back of the neck is long. Good. Now one more option in our squat pose is to bring it up super high and make it really active, in which case hips don't really go past the knees. Hands can come to heart center or out in front of you, and we're really holding an active shape here. Or maybe you just drop down a couple inches. Find what works for you, a couple breaths in your active squat. Good. We're gonna move back to a downward facing dog, which we've talked about before. Put your hands on blocks if you'd like. Step both feet back, lift your hips high. So press palms forward and down. Bend your knees as much as you need in order to untuck your pelvis and glide your sit bones high. Find some nice length through the back body and through the side waists. Good, now step your right foot forward. Lower your left knee down. If you'd like a blanket under the left knee to cushion it a little bit more, that's a good option. Hands come on blocks on either side of your right foot if you need the space. This is our low lunge shape, or Anjanae Asana. And in this shape, again, think about threading your heart through your shoulders. The goal is to sink your left hip down, but don't do it at the expense of your low back or a super intense stretch of your hip flexor. So if that just feels like crunchy or icky in any way, back off, engage your left glute a little bit, and then draw your hips forward and down. So it might not look as pretty and bendy, but that doesn't really matter. Just find some movement in your hips. Again, blocks kind of act as lengtheners of your arms, so depending on your range of motion, you can change the setting of the block. So this is Anjanae Asana. Oftentimes in class, we will come out of the lunge a little bit and lift our arms high. Biceps to frame the ears, thumbs reaching back behind you, pinkies reaching up. And again, think about drawing lower ribs towards your hip bones a little bit. Unless you feel really, really open and comfortable and engaged in any type of back bend, but no need to force that. Good. A next transition that we often do is to come to a half splits, which is called Arta Hanumanasana. For this, bring your blocks back about half a foot, and then stretch your right leg straight-ish. So not all the way straight. Make sure you're engaged into your quad a little bit, or have a micro bend in that right knee. Avoid kind of slamming your knee backwards and straight. And then you can come up onto the ball or the heel of the right foot, toes point up towards the sky. Hips are shifted back to stack over your left knee. Hands energetically pull forward backwards as the heart pulls forward. Crown of the head tugs forward as well. This is our half split. So you should feel the stretch in the back of the hamstrings. And then you can turn your toes in and out and see how that changes the sensation as well. Couple of breaths here. Good. All right, bend back into your right knee. Bring your blocks forward. Tuck your left toes, lift your left knee from the mat. I call this runner's lunge. Everyone has different names for lunges, but usually, you feel like you're about to kind of start a race if you were doing track. Runner's lunge here if the back leg is hovered. Breathe here. Take a peek at your hips. Make sure your right hip isn't poking out super far to the side. Draw them back in towards each other and think about squeezing your inner thighs towards each other. So right heel kind of squeegees back, left ball of the foot squeegees forward. That's a funny word. I don't know why I used that one. All right. Drop your left knee down. Take a little moment to give your quad a break. And actually, let's just go ahead and switch sides. So step your right foot back and your left foot forward. Right knee is dropped down to the mat for now. Anjanae Asana, low lunge. So again, you can be totally up here, stacked, shoulders over pelvis. That's a great option. Arms can reach high. And then as you're ready, find some engagement in the core by tucking your pubic bone a little bit up towards your navel, and then find some engagement in the back right glute. Then maybe think about sinking your hips down. As you open up more, maybe your hands drop to the blocks or to the mat. A lot of people will tell you to not let your knee surpass your big toe. I think it's totally body dependent. If you notoriously have knee injuries, then maybe avoid it, but in a lot of people, it's totally fine. Good, let's find our half splits, Arta Hanumanasana. So blocks come back a notch, straighten into your left leg, pluck your left toes off the mat, and shift your hips backwards. Heart pulls forward and through. Send some deep breaths into the back of the thigh, the hamstring. Maybe explore a little bit by turning your toes in and out. Good. Runner's lunge. Walk those blocks back forward. Bend into your left knee. Tuck your right toes and lift your right knee from the mat. Think about really driving back through your right heel and lifting up through the back of the right thigh up towards the sky. A really active pose here, staying strong in both legs. Find that engagement, pulling them both towards center. One more breath. Good. Drop both knees down to the mat. Walk your right foot forward again. Tuck your left toes. Lift your left knee, runner's lunge. This time, drive down through your right heel. Curl your right sit bone underneath your body to engage your glutes and hamstrings, and then lift your shoulders to stack over your pelvis. Arms can reach high or come to your waist or heart center. This is our high lunge or crescent lunge. Same cues really. Think about shifting your right hip crease back and pulling left hip forward. As you get stronger, you can sink into your right knee a little bit deeper. Press back through your left heel and the back of the left thigh. Good, one more breath in. Now we're gonna straighten and fold. over your right leg. So again, keep a tiny little bend in that knee and then dive your heart forward. Good place for blocks again, bring the ground up to you. The back heel can remain lifted or you can pivot it down at an angle. This is pyramid pose, Parsvatanasana. And I like to play with either reaching my chest forward, usually on an inhale, and then exhale, dropping heart and head towards my right knee. If you'd like a little more help with your balance, instead of having a narrow stance where your right heel bisects your left foot, you can walk your feet out a little bit wider. One more breath. Good. Bend back into your right knee. Come onto the ball of the left foot if you aren't already. Inhale, find your crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Our body is going to open up to the left, to the long edge of the mat. Swivel your left heel down. So your left toes are facing off to the left now. Right knee tracks over your right foot. Pelvis and arms open out to the side. So it's like your hands could cast shadows right on top of your feet in either direction. Gaze is long out in front of you over the right middle finger. And here, take out any arch in the low back. Think about scooping your pelvis underneath you. Again, to make it harder, you bend more deeply into that front knee. Good. Reverse your warrior. Bring your left hand to the back of your left thigh and reach your right arm up to the sky. No need to make it super back bendy or side bendy, just a little bit of a shift in momentum and movement and direction. Maybe breathe into your right lung. Good. Come back to your warrior two. Arms stretch long and straight. This time we're going to straighten our right leg. Pretend you are in between two panes of glass on the front of your belly and the back of your back body. You're going to reach your right hand forward. And when you can't go any further, sink it down. So it will find the mat or the right shin or a block on the inside of the shin. Scoop your right sit bone underneath you and reach your left arm to the sky. This is triangle pose, Trikanasana. Broaden across your collarbones, stay expansive in the chest. And then instead of crunching and really dumping into the right side body, can you create a little bit of length from your right hip crease through your right armpit? Even if it means you don't kind of stretch down as far. And then if you feel safe in your balance, your gaze can look up at your left thumb. Good. Press down through your right heel. Reverse your triangle. So left hand comes to the back of the left thigh. Right arm again reaches up and back. Breathe in here. Good. All right, we're gonna find a Skandasana or a variation of it. The full expression of the pose looks like this. You're gonna bend into your right knee, toes are out slightly. We face the long edge of the mat. Sink your hip towards your heel. This is a lot of mobility in the ankle and the hips. So a good variation is again to angle your right foot out at toes slightly at an angle, and then just bend slightly into your right knee. So another way I've heard them called is this is surfer's lunge, like you were riding a wave, and maybe this is, if you pop up a little bit, skater's lunge. So we can call this modified variation skater lunge. Left leg is straight, bend into your right knee. A lot of activation in the right quad, but also some good stretching in the left inner thigh here. Good, maybe sink a little deeper. You could also place the block underneath your right sit bone and have a seat onto it. And then there's a pose called Revolved Skandasana or Fallen Lunge. For this one, face the top of your mat, again, pivot on the ball of the left foot. You're gonna plant your left hand down on a block or onto the mat. Reach your right arm high. This is a transition called easy twist. And then again, for the full expression of the pose, all 10 toes are gonna pivot to the right, and you sink your left hip down towards the mat. Right arm reaches towards the left foot behind you. This is a huge stretch for the right outer hip. This is really intense. So what we'll do is pivot both or all 10 toes to the right and just reach right arm high. So hips are still hovered off the mat. And even if that is a lot, you can lower your left knee down. You will still feel the stretch here. Couple breaths. Good. Move through center. Plant both hands, step your right foot back. Find a downward dog. Good. Left foot steps forward when you're ready. Runner's lunge. Now this time, drive down through your left heel. Curl your left sit bone underneath you to undulate up through your spine. Stack your shoulders over your pelvis. Crescent lunge or high lunge. Back of the right thigh lifts up. Biceps to frame the ears or hands at heart center. One more breath in. Think about shooting right hip forward and drawing left hip back. And then we'll find Parsvatanasana. There's two poses that sound exactly the same. Our pyramid pose. So right heel can stay lifted, or you can angle it down. Right toes out at an angle, right heel down. Again, scoop left sit bone underneath you. Take a nice wide stance if you need for your balance. And then hands onto props. Keep that little micro bend in the left knee. Inhale, find some length through the back body by stretching your heart forward. And exhale, you can fold. Dive your upper body over your lower body. One more breath here. Good. Pivot onto the ball of the right foot again. Inhale, crescent lunge, arms reach high. Exhale, Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Now we go to the right, arms and pelvis open to the right, swivel your right heel down. Bend deeply as you would like into your left knee, and then hands stretch long in either directions like they're casting shadows on your feet. Take the arch out of your low back by scooping pelvis under. Relax your shoulders from your ears. Good, reverse it. Right hand comes to the back of the right thigh. Left arm reaches up and back. Breathe into your left lung. Good, come back through center, straighten your left leg. Reach forward, forward, forward through your left middle finger. And then when you can't go anymore, drop your left hand down to the shin or to a block on the inside of the shin. Right arm stretches high. This is Trikanasana triangle pose. Again, gaze can follow up towards the left thumb, right thumb. Stretch your left hip crease back and your left armpit forward. Good. Keep that little micro bend in the left knee. Push through your left heel. Reverse your triangle. Straighten both legs, right arm to right leg, left arm up and back. And actually, we're gonna add a pose. We can come back to it on the other side. Called side angle. This is the one that sounds like the other one. This is Parsvatanasana. The other one was Tonasana. For this one, we bend into our left knee, and you can bring your hand to a block right on the inside, or you can rest your left elbow onto your left knee and stretch your right arm either up to the sky or, for more of a side body stretch, overhead towards the top of the mat. Ground down through your right pinky toe to stay anchored. Good. And let's even it out. So we're just going to pivot towards the back of the mat. Right toes are forward, left toes at an angle. Bend into your right knee. Rest your right elbow onto your right knee. And then stretch your left arm high or overhead. So this is side angle pose. It's modified side angle. If you're propped up in any way, the full expression would be dropping right hand to the mat, which takes a lot of opening. One more breath here. Good, come back up. We'll find our skater lunge. I'm gonna turn to face you. This time we're bending into our left knee. Toes are out at an angle. So just play around with it. Again, if you wanna take the full Skandasana, you're dropping hips all the way down towards the left heel. But if you want to put a block under your sit bone, that's great. Or if you want to stay a little more active, just sink back into the left hip a little bit. Feel that stretch on the right inner thigh this time. Good. Come back to the front of the mat. Pivot onto the ball of the right foot. Plant your right hand down. We're in our runner's lunge. And then easy twist. Left arm is going to thread up to the sky. And then find Revolved Skandasana or Fallen Lunge by pointing all 10 toes to the left, maybe walking your left foot back a little bit. Full version is to drop your right hip to the mat and stretch left hand behind you. If you'd like, keep those hips lifted and left arm to the sky. You'll still feel a stretch here on the left outer hip. You could also drop your right knee to the mat for more support. One more breath in. Good. Come back to the front of the mat. Both hands plant, both feet step back. Downward facing dog. And then drop your knees down. Cross your ankles. Roll back over them so you come to a seat. And we'll find a bound angle, Trikanasana pose. So for this, you're gonna find a butterfly pose if you played sports growing up. Soles of the feet will touch and your knees will splay out to the side into external rotation. Bring your hands to your ankles. Inhale to sit up really tall out of the waist. Proud chest. You can stay here, or if you'd like to fold a little bit, you can. This will bring more stretch to the inner thighs. And you can stay really active in this by really pulling your knees out using your hip muscles. Let's take one more breath here. Good. All right, lift back up. Those are our main lower body postures. We are going to do a vinyasa class later in the week where we will link those with movement at a slightly faster pace. But go through this class again if you want to familiarize yourself, practice them in your body, find what props work for you, and just give it a go. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.